to let me start playing rugby. I tackled him, and I found out he was from South Africa, so at the end of the game we got chatting, and he said, "What are you doing here?" So I said, "Oh, we came to start a church." He said, "Oh, I'm also a Christian." I said, "Brilliant, what church are you going to?" He said, "I'm not really going to church." I said, "You're hiding!" This is how rugby players talk to each other. And we just struck up a friendship. He did start to come to church. It's incredible the life transformation that's happened in him. He just loves Jesus. On Sundays you can hear him praying out at times. He just carries such a passion for God. Yesterday I was at his wedding where he was just thanking God for the grace of God in his life working. And you might have heard some of his story from Lex, because he was in a chronic car accident and he had major pain. He broke multiple bones, he tore loads of muscles, and he was in a huge amount of pain. So he could only walk with a stick, and when he could eventually get rid of the stick, he had just constant pain. And when Lex came to preach, Lex just prayed for healing, and I turned across and looked at where Wimpy was, and this big Afrikaner was just crying and crying because God miraculously, instantly took away all his pain. And so now he's back playing rugby. But if you could see him in the months before, incredible change, starting to play rugby, it was an absolute miracle. And he's brought friends from the rugby club because I think they've seen something has gone on in him. So the first guy, an Afrikaner called Wimpy. The second one, an American, who started coming along when we launched. We launched publicly on the 27th of May this year. And because he's an American, and because him and his wife were coming every week, I assumed they were Christians. But he wasn't. And so we got chatting one day, and he said, I'm not actually a Christian, but we love what we're seeing here. We love coming along, and this is interesting stuff. And about 6 weeks ago, I met with him again. We just had coffee, and after some chit-chat, he said, "Chris, we want to join the church and start giving money." So I said, "Why?" I just wanted to make sure there was the right motives here. And he said, "You know what, we've been coming regularly, and I've been listening to sermons that I've missed, and I've downloaded the Bible onto my Kindle." And he said, "I just believe this stuff. It's true, I believe it." And that's exactly the type of church we wanted to be, where people who are not Christians feel welcomed and engaged with. And we've seen that happening over and over. People are just regularly among us who are not Christians, who in the beginning were like, this is not for me, but I like it here. Just beginning to go on a process to coming to know Christ. And the third person is a Japanese woman who came into the church about 10 minutes from the end. I want to just explain why. God's opened the door for us to meet in an amazing venue right in the center of the city. In fact, I'll show you a picture of it. It's called the Nieuwe Kerk. In fact, it's from 1654 that it was built. But this is the only church in the very center of the city. You've kind of got Central Station. You walk out of Central Station, you've got the government ministries, the parliament just behind. You've got all sorts of international organizations, the city hall, and then you've got a church in the center of the city. It hasn't been used as a church since 1971, but just amazingly, God opened the door for us to be the church that uses it on a Sunday. Because it's so central, and because The Hague is quite a tourist hotspot, it means that we have regularly, through the summer, we had loads and loads of people every week just walking in off the street, because they're like, wow, that's a beautiful church, let's go in. And this Japanese lady was one of these, and this happens in Europe, we just like old churches. This Japanese lady walked in 10 minutes from the end of the sermon. I just saw her coming in, she came and sat down, she listened. At the end of the service, she went to one of our welcome team and she said, "I'm from Japan, I'm just visiting The Hague very briefly. I walked past, I thought I'd come in. I've never heard this before. I want to be a Christian. I want to follow Jesus." And we love that. God is at work in kind of changing people's lives, in saving people, and we love it. We're so excited about being part of this church plant. So although we miss Jubilee greatly, Redeemer is very much kind of pumping in our hearts. Here's a great compliment. Karen's parents, great compliment for us. My wife's parents came and visited Jubilee about 6 months ago. They were in South Africa visiting my sister and brother-in-law, my sister-in-law and brother-in-law, and they came along to Jubilee, and when they came back, they said, do you know what? Redeemer is just like Jubilee. Yeah, brilliant! So your influence is extending around the world. Well